What's up guys, welcome back to a new video. Today I'm gonna try and make the video that I probably should have made the day that I started this channel. A lot of people have been asking me about this video, and to be completely honest with you guys, I've actually tried to make it for about at least 3 times, but every time I did, halfway through the story, I got frustrated or I got annoyed and I just kind of gave up. But today is the day I'm gonna put it out regardless if I can tell the story in a good way or not. In the past 2 weeks, we've been welcoming a ton of new subscribers, so I feel like right now is the right time to go ahead and tell the story. It's a long story, so I'm gonna try and keep it as to the point as possible, but at the same time I don't want to deprive you guys of any important details that I feel are vital to the story. Alright, so I'm gonna take you guys way back to 2011 when I first started receiving my initial symptoms. At the time I was living in Barcelona with my, at that time, girlfriend, and I remember I used to go jogging every other few days, and every time I came down on my right foot I would feel this intense pain in my lower right gums. I didn't think anything of it at the time because usually it would just go away after I quit jogging, and you know, I didn't really think anything of it. So fast forward a few months and the pain kept coming back more and more often, and also this time it wouldn't go away that fast. I would have certain days that I wouldn't be able to eat or speak properly without having pain. So it was around this time that I started thinking, something seems to be very wrong here. So I remember I booked an appointment with my dentist back in Belgium. So I went in, they took an x-ray picture, and I'll never forget when she came back into the room and she said, "I have never seen a cyst of this magnitude. Like, we need to get you to the hospital as soon as possible." So she explained to me that I had a cyst in my lower right jaw that had apparently been there for many years. The origin of this cyst seemed to be that I had 2 wisdom teeth that had never been pulled, basically pushing against each other, and in that way creating a gap. That gap was over time filled with dirt and little bits of food and, you know, other types of dirt, which then in time turned into a cyst. Now apparently it had been there for so many years that it had developed and started eating away at my jawbone. So at this particular time there was already a very big hole in my jaw, where the bone used to be, that was now inhabited by the cyst. So I went to the hospital, I met with the surgeon that was specialized in those type of cases, and pretty soon after, like maybe 1 week later, I already went in for surgery. So what they did was they opened up my jaw, they made an incision, they removed the cyst, and then to basically fill up the hole that the cyst had created into my jawbone, they took bone from my right hip, they crumbled up the bone, and that's what they used to fill up the jawbone. At the time they told me, you know, surgery went great, it all went according to plan, there's nothing left for you to worry about, you know, you'll be fine. So it was around that time that me and my girlfriend decided to move to Stockholm, Sweden. The idea was that we were gonna make the jump to Sydney, Australia later on, where she would go on to study and I would get a job. But in the meantime, we would go and live with her family in Stockholm so we could save some money, and I could also make money in Stockholm where wages are pretty high. So most of 2012 I was living in Stockholm, working at a sales job, and I think everything was gonna be fine, but the cyst kept coming back. It was very weird. So I kept flying back to Belgium, kept getting it removed. I had a few more surgeries, Every time they said, well, this is weird, normally it doesn't come back, but you know, we'll take it out again, we'll fill it up again, you know, no biggie. So I was flying back and forth between Sweden and Belgium to get this sorted out. Now, about 8 to 9 months in, I started realizing, like, this doesn't seem to be going the right way, and my doctors had the same sentiment. It was at this time that they told me in Belgium, maybe it's better if we redirect you to Leuven, which is basically the most prestigious, the main medical university in Belgium. So all the best doctors, all the best surgeons are in Leuven. It's basically the top of Belgian medical science. So the first thing they told me when I went to Leuven to have a consultation with my new surgeons is, maybe it's better that you move back to Belgium because we're gonna have to see you quite a lot of times, and it's not gonna be, you know, practical for you to fly back and forth. And it also seems like this is a pretty unique case because the cyst doesn't seem to be responding like any other normal cyst that we know. So I quit my job in Stockholm. I got a new job in Belgium working for BP Oil, the main oil company, aka Satan or Pure Evil, I'm sure you guys are aware of. So then I spent about 8 months undergoing treatment in Leuven, you know, before and after my full-time job. And for the next 8 months, I was getting treatment before and after my full-time job in Leuven. So for the next 8 months, they tried everything under the sun, but nothing would work. They gave me special type of antibiotics, which had me staying in the hospital for 2 weeks in a row because these antibiotics were only able to be taken through a liquid form, so not in pill form. So I would have to stay in the hospital. They were doing all types of crazy things, but whatever they tried, nothing worked, and the cyst kept growing. So I started realizing, like, this is not really going into the right direction. I was getting a little bit worried, but I've always been a very positive person by heart and by nature. So for some reason, I always figured, like, it's gonna be fine, like, it'll be great, like, don't, you know, I'm not really worried about it. And I'll never forget, one day, I came in and I was in a bad mood, I was in a rush because I was stressed by work, and I was basically complaining to my doctors, you know, for making me wait this long, and for, you know, I was like, do you guys realize, like, I got shit to do? And I'll never forget the main surgeon, he looked me dead in the eye and he said, do you realize if what we're doing now is not gonna work, we're gonna have to cut off your entire right jaw? Is that what you want? And that was the first time I realized, like, oh shit, like this might not end so well. Due to me being so overly optimistic all the time, I never even thought about, like, what might happen if the procedures and all the, you know, all the things they were trying might not work. Up until that point, they always told me, don't worry, we've checked the tissue, it's not malign, it's not a tumor, it's not cancer. They must have told me it's not cancer over 100 times. Fast forward to, I believe it was May 2013, I got a telephone call, and they never used to call me. Like, they would email me, or, like, you know, it would always be communication through text messages. But that day they called me if I could please come in, and I was like, well, why do you want me to come in? Like, I was just there yesterday for treatment. But they said, yeah, but the main surgeon, the professor, would like to have a talk with you. And it was then that I knew, like, after I put down the phone, I knew I had cancer, because up until that point, they would just tell me everything on the phone, or they would write me an email. So me having to go in and talk to him in person in this weird type of manner. So before I even walked in, I already knew what he was gonna tell me. And you guys have to understand, at this point, I was going crazy because I had been undergoing treatment for over 2 years, and they still hadn't figured out a solution, and they still haven't figured out exactly what was wrong with me. So I was dying to get a definition of the problem. I was dying to know what is my enemy, like what's happening and what is the plan. So when he told me that I had bone cancer and I would require a full-on jaw amputation of the entire jawbone, I know this sounds incredibly crazy, but I was relieved. Finally, after 2 years of being in limbo, after 2 years of not being able to do what I want to do, not being able to travel, not being able to, you know, continue my own path on my terms, I finally knew what was in front of me. I finally knew what I had to do. So I was like, let's go, man. Let's just go. I'm ready. What's the plan? Let's do it. So they scheduled the surgery for, I think it was like 3 weeks later. I immediately quit my job. I took a plane to Barcelona to spend some time there before going in surgery, spending time with my friends and trying to enjoy life. I was actually in very good spirits. Like, I was optimistic, I was positive, because I felt like I could overcome anything. Like, that's always the way I felt. So the plan was to amputate my entire right jaw, take out the bone, take out the flesh, take out everything, and then take out tissue out of my lower left leg right here, and use this bone and this, you know, the muscle and the skin and the flesh and the tissue to construct a new jaw, together with a titanium bone that would help support the whole thing. So the last few nights before the surgery, I went kind of overboard. I was drinking a lot, I was going out like crazy, because I was getting more and more nervous as the surgery was getting closer, and I felt like, I don't know how I'm gonna come out, so I might as well make the most out of these last few days that I still have before I go in. So I had some pretty self-destructive times, but that's for a different video. So we went ahead with the surgery. It took about, if I remember correctly, 16 to 18 hours. It was a crazy operation. I still remember the first person I saw when I finally woke up after that marathon surgery was my mom. And I asked her, did it went well? And she said yes, and we both started crying. After that, I spent the next 2 months laying in the hospital, not being able to speak, not being able to eat, not being able to walk, and it was terrible. Like, that was without a doubt one of the hardest times of my life. I felt like I was no longer human. I was just laying there. I had to write and type if I wanted to communicate to someone. I couldn't sleep at night. I was crying all the time, and I didn't think I was ever gonna come back from that situation. There were tubes and wires everywhere. It was a nightmare. I couldn't move without having, you know, tubes come off, or like, it was just so crazy. And maybe that's why I don't really like talking about it that much, because it was such a traumatic experience for me. Even when I'm reminiscing about it now, I kind of get goosebumps and I start feeling kind of bad. So it is what it is. I was having crazy nightmares. If I was able to sleep, which was very little, I was having these crazy psychotic nightmares. And one time, in the middle of the night, I tried to get up and escape out of my bed, because my leg was in a cast, and because that's where they took the tissue, I wasn't able to walk. So the second I tried to get out of the bed, I fell flat on my face. And later on, it turned out that because I tried to get out of bed and try to walk on this leg prematurely, I actually suffered a compartment syndrome. So a compartment syndrome occurs when a vital vein to a muscle or a certain part of your body is cut off, and the blood flow restriction is cut off to that part. So what happens is that part of your body slowly starts dying. So that's what happened with my lower left leg, and this meant that they had to rush me into surgery 3 more times to try and maintain my left foot. To this day, big parts of my left foot are still paralyzed and are completely numb. I don't have any feeling in them. I can't move my big toe, and my lower left leg is all the way fucked up. This is still to this day one of my biggest frustrations, because I used to play basketball, I used to be very much into athletic sports, and after this, you know, this was all over with. Now the reason why it's so frustrating is because the issue was always in my jaw. My lower left leg, my whole leg was fine, it was strong, it was great, and after this mess, that my entire lower body just lost a ton of strength and mobility, and to this day this is where I still suffer the most from. Alright, so that's the story, guys. Obviously many more surgeries and things happen after that point, but I'm gonna cut it off right here because again I can feel that I'm getting demotivated just talking about this. I don't like reminiscing about it, and I'm so close to saying fuck it and just deleting this entire video. You guys can probably tell that my energy level in this video is a little bit down. That's because I really don't like talking about this. It was one of the most traumatic experiences in my entire life. I never thought I was gonna be back to being a complete human being. I thought I was gonna be a disabled person for the rest of my life. I was in a wheelchair. I couldn't do anything by myself. I was basically, you know, even going to the bathroom, I wasn't able to do by myself. It was such a terrible experience, but at the same time, I do understand that a lot of you guys watching my channel and following me want to know exactly what happened to me. So there you have it. That's the story. I hope you guys can take away something positive from my story. Also, to end this video on a more happy and lighter note, happy 420 to all of my people out there. I'm actually wearing this shirt in honor of 420, in case you hadn't noticed. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up on the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And stay tuned for more videos coming real soon. Big Boy Benzo, checking out and wishing you a beautiful weekend.